The survivors of the zombie outbreak were finally allowed to leave the safety zone and return to a semblance of normal life. Specialized workers were prioritized for employment, ensuring their immediate livelihoods. But for someone like Anna, a cubicle worker, stepping out meant facing unemployment.
To survive, I had no choice but to adopt a zombie, especially since my mother requires long-term hospitalization. The ongoing medical expenses demand a strong financial foundation, not to mention I still need money to find my missing boyfriend, Michael.
Anna had to take a risk and adopt a Class C zombie to earn enough salary to cover the costs. Sitting in front of the computer at the adoption center, she browsed through the photos of Class C zombies.
These images are horrifying. Missing limbs, eyes nearly falling out. I can barely stand to look.
Class A and B zombies looked much better. Class A zombies underwent antiviral treatment, making them almost indistinguishable from normal humans. Class B zombies needed plastic surgery to live like normal people. Class C zombies were recorded as non-aggressive and non-violent, but no cases of them returning to normal life had been reported. However, adopting a Class C zombie paid well.
This one looks somewhat acceptable. His left cheek is slashed open, revealing 2 teeth. His right cheek is covered in blood, and his eye is nearly out of its socket. Despite his appearance, he wears a shirt neatly tucked into his pants. The belt buckle looks familiar.
Meeting zombie C521 was a test of Anna's endurance. His hollow cheeks emitted a foul stench due to some chemical reaction.
My name is Anna. Would you like to live with me?
C521's gray eyes moved slightly. He made a guttural ho-ho-ho sound from his throat. His twisted arm tried to reach out to hold her hand.
Congratulations, Miss Anna. From now on, you are Mr. C521's family.
Adopting a Class C zombie came with a 260 square meter villa, equipped with a safety zone for the adopter's protection. Anna also received a modified anti-riot vehicle. As they stopped outside the villa, Anna immediately felt a sense of familiarity. This villa used to belong to her boss and boyfriend, Michael.
This house was deemed unclaimed, indicating that neither Michael nor his family survived the disaster.
Standing in front of the familiar door, Anna was filled with regret. Just as she took out the key, a haggard woman sneered at her.
Well, if it isn't the little tramp Anna who seduced the boss. Michael's whole family is gone, and now you're clinging to a zombie to survive?
Anna recognized the woman as Lily, who had constantly harassed her when Michael pursued her, claiming to be Michael's fiancée.
Lily, you better pray Michael is still alive. Otherwise, once I settle everything, I'll drag you down with us for a lost love.
An old man with a cane appeared behind Lily, hitting her leg.
Get back inside. Don't forget how you begged to marry me.
C521's eyes turned red, and the chains on his neck and arms rattled. Lily maliciously took out her phone and started dialing.
You can't even control your zombie. You're all going to perish before you even get home. You don't deserve to live in such a nice house.
Lily rushed at Anna with a plastic basin, aiming for her head. C521's growls grew louder.
Big brother, don't go berserk.
C521 took 2 menacing steps towards Lily, then turned back to see Anna in tears. He clumsily tried to wipe her tears but only managed to touch her hair. The zombie virus hadn't completely disappeared, and Lily's call quickly brought several hazmat-suited staff to surround C521. Lily sat on the ground, accusing C521 of violence. The staff quickly pulled up surveillance footage and C521's monitor. They issued Lily a fine and warned her about further provocation. The old man, furious at the fine, dragged Lily by her hair back into the yard. As Anna and C521 entered the house, they could hear Lily's cries from the yard.
People have just emerged from the brink of death. Who has time to care about domestic disputes?
Inside the house, most of the furniture was gone. C521's room was equipped with a monitoring system, and the house locks could be controlled by facial recognition.
I'll help you change your bandages and try to restore his room.
Anna cleaned the wounds on C521's face, injected him with antiviral medication, and bandaged the wounds.
My boyfriend's family practiced traditional Chinese medicine. If we still had the regenerative ointment, it would help your wounds.
C521 stood quietly, listening to her. Anna held his hand and led him to his room.
I'll order some food. Do you want raw meat? How about trying a medium-rare steak?
C521 obediently made a mmm sound. Anna tried to negotiate.
How about I call you Jason? I hope you can be reborn, and I hope my boyfriend can be reborn too.
Jason's head turned slowly, examining his reflection in the window. The food for the adopted zombies is also delivered by the adoption center.
We've received your message about replacing animal brains with rare and medium-rare steaks. Please ensure you treat Jason well and don't skimp on his food.
I dragged Jason to the dining table, cut the steak, and put it on a fork, then placed the fork in his hand. He tried to mimic human behavior, eating slowly. Jason's muscles were stiff, and it took him 3 hours to finish 2 steaks.
Watching Jason's eating broadcast for 3 hours brought tears to our eyes. Accepting regular human food is a significant milestone for zombies transitioning to a more human-like state.
This small progress earned me a substantial bonus directly into my account. For families adopting zombies, the community provides volunteers who come to the house for 2 hours of free service every day. Taking advantage of Jason's nap and the volunteers' supervision, I went to wash a photo of Michael and me and ordered some daily necessities. When I returned, Jason was staring blankly at the door. From his vacant eyes, I could read unease. Like a puppy just separated from its mother, he followed me step by step. I tidied up the room and placed the washed photo on the bedside table. Jason clumsily followed me around, bumping into furniture and tripping over the trash can. The room, which was initially quite clean, became messier with his help.
Just sit there and watch TV and listen to me say thank you.
Jason lowered his head and slowly backed out of my bedroom. I felt bad for treating a zombie this way and was about to apologize when Jason clumsily returned, handing me an apple. He pointed to the faucet, indicating that he had washed it. Fruits are now only available in the orchards of the safe zone, and this apple was sent by the adoption center for Jason.
This is your fruit.
Jason insisted on pushing the apple towards my mouth, and I couldn't resist the aroma of the fruit. I silently told myself that it was his invitation, and I wasn't skimping. Then I cut the apple into 6 small pieces. We sat on the sofa, each taking half to share. The long-lost taste of fruit tantalized my taste buds. Jason had only taken 2 bites, and I had already finished my 3 pieces. Even though I felt shameless, I couldn't bring myself to take Jason's fruit. But he carefully picked up a small piece of apple and tried to feed it to me again. Unfortunately, his vision hadn't fully recovered, and the apple went straight for my nose. Realizing his mistake, Jason went to the kitchen to wash the apple again and kept trying to hand it to me. Skimping on or stealing a zombie's food is a big no-no in the adoption process. Fortunately, the remote monitoring staff sent an evaluation. Jason is trying to build a good relationship with his adopter, which is a sign of his social recovery. The staff suggested that I accept Jason's goodwill to help him recover his humanity faster, so I reluctantly finished Jason's fruit portion for the day. Food is precious now, and ordinary people can only afford 2 meals a day at most. My dinner was a bowl of plain boiled noodles with a bit of pickled vegetables. With nearly a whole apple in my stomach, even my dreams were sweet. I even had the illusion of smelling the aroma of frying bacon. I crawled out of bed and opened the door to see a mess in the house. I thought Jason had gone berserk and was about to press the alarm button. The kitchen was filled with smoke, and cooking utensils were everywhere. In the smoke, Jason's clumsy figure was busy with something, waving his arms. Summoning my courage, I stepped in, but I slipped on something and almost fell face-first into the gas stove. Jason hurriedly shielded me from the flames, and the smell of burnt meat filled the air. Jason cried out in pain. I pressed Jason's arm under the faucet, running cool water over his burn. Thanks to his dulled pain nerves, he didn't move or make a sound as I treated his wound. I turned on the exhaust fan, and as the smoke cleared, my heart began to ache. The high-end ingredients in the fridge were all Jason's food portions. Due to the zombie virus, they need to consume a lot of high-calorie food. Now, there were 5 or 6 broken raw eggs on the floor, egg whites everywhere. Half a bag of milk was spilling out. Thanks to the adoption center for providing stainless steel plates and bowls that don't break, but what were those 6 or 7 blackened, charred objects on the plate? Jason got injured under my care, and I accepted the deduction in my salary. Seeing so much food wasted, my heart broke.
Jason, what were you trying to do?
7.
The plate had 2 pieces of fried bacon, smelling delicious.
So, you were making breakfast for me?
I suddenly remembered the short time Michael and I lived together. He always got up early to heat milk, fry eggs, and bacon for me. Don't ask, Michael couldn't cook anything else.
Are you Michael?
Jason shook his head woodenly, pooh. Jason clumsily broke free, grabbed the charred objects from another plate, and stuffed them into his mouth, quickly covering his face in black soot. He looked both aggrieved and comical. Ignoring the mess, I hurriedly took him to wash his face and treated the exposed wounds. Then I led him to watch me clean up the kitchen from the doorway. Adopters must ensure that zombies have at least 2 hours of outdoor time daily. I bought seeds and took Jason to plant corn in the yard. Food is still the most scarce resource. Even though I was sweating profusely, I dug the soil to plant a piece of hope for myself. Jason watched me dig for a while from a stone bench, then came over, took the hoe from my hand, and turned over the entire yard's soil.
This isn't a zombie, this is my dear baby.
I happily planted corn all over the yard and some onions and other vegetables along the wall. Jason and I got along well. In the past few days, he not only learned to farm, fertilize, and water but also eagerly did housework. Even though he often knocked things over due to his stiff limbs, I had to clean up after him. But now he could make a simple, edible breakfast for me. During this period, the adoption center staff came to our home several times for Jason's checkups and tests, and they were very pleased with his progress. Although his attack power and level of zombification met the standards of a Class C zombie, his intelligence and social skills were approaching those of a Class B zombie. The staff provided proof that Jason's willingness to share his food with me was his own choice. They suggested other adoptive families try to treat zombies as real family members, sharing daily food and emotions, which would help zombies reintegrate into human society sooner. Later, I heard that other adoptive families, following this suggestion, ended up with zombies attacking their adopters and pets due to hunger, breaking up several adoption pairs. I didn't dare laugh out loud, fearing a beating. Recently, I observed Jason eating and found that he deliberately ate very slowly. He always waited until I finished eating before gulping down all the remaining food. The corn Jason and I planted sprouted and grew to over 10 centimeters. For the first time, I saw Jason squatting by the corn seedlings, his expression relaxed, almost as if he were smiling. The scary wounds on his face had begun to heal under my careful care, with new flesh growing. The more I looked at Jason's face, the more he resembled Michael. He could now have vague conversations with me. Whenever I asked his name, he would look confused. When pressed, he would say his name was Jason. Life was gradually returning to normal. Suddenly, a community worker came to work with an apologetic expression, saying they had found the previous property information. This villa originally had half of its ownership under my name, and Michael had added my name to his company and factory.
As the sole heir to the estate, you have to take over the company and factory. The adoption center, seeing your refusal to move to the new villa they had prepared, agreed to pay you monthly rent based on the current valuation of this villa.
So, it was as if the adoption center was renting my house. I needed to take Jason to check the factory's condition, and Jason seemed very excited, proactively bringing out the collar and handcuffs. These were the zombie's outdoor gear, with handcuffs to prevent him from hurting people and a collar with a destruction device powerful enough to instantly destroy a Class C zombie. Although the factory was overgrown with weeds, the warehouse was intact, and the herbal granules inside had a long shelf life. In the office drawer, I found Michael's old notes and an acupuncture needle kit. I gave Jason some herbal medicine to promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis and selected some useful medicines to take home. Jason was very interested in Michael's acupuncture kit. I told him several times that it was my boyfriend's and I wanted to keep it as a memento. But Jason stubbornly kept stealing the needle kit and self-harming. Watching him stick needles into himself like planting rice, I realized that although his fingers were not nimble, his needle technique was quite decent. With the adoption center's approval, Jason and I started acupuncture treatments based on Michael's notes. Jason was a tough zombie, treating himself harshly.
Take it easy.
Seeing him aim a needle at his brow, almost hitting his eye, I hurriedly grabbed his hand. I used a pen to mark the points Jason wanted to needle, then helped him insert the needles. I don't know if it was my poor technique or the effectiveness of the herbal granules, but on the 17th day of acupuncture, Jason clearly said, "It hurts," and even frowned. I was worried the adoption center might accuse me of mistreating the zombie. Instead, the center's director personally brought rice, flour, and oil, 3 valuable commodities, to my door, offering a high price for the herbal granules in my factory warehouse and the intellectual property of the acupuncture therapy. It wasn't just about the money, I needed to ensure a stable supply of food and resources.
Jason, I agreed wholeheartedly. We need to be prepared. Food prices are unstable, and we can't risk running out.
Emily, you're right. What did you request?
2 additional freezers, 30 pounds of meat, 10 pounds of fruit, and 30 pounds of fresh vegetables every month. Plus, a one-time payment of 100 pounds each of rice and flour.
That's a lot, but it's necessary. What about the remaining herbal granules?
I exchanged them from the factory warehouse. We have to ensure a worry-free life ahead.
The head of the adoption center was straightforward, and soon, a large sum arrived in my account. The freezers and supplies were delivered promptly.
Don't ask why we need so much meat. It's about pride. Jason can't eat plain noodles every day.
And grains, oil, meat, eggs, and fruits are the real hard currency. They can be traded for rare items.
Many people are trading luxury bags for food, but prices have dropped so low that no one would exchange even 30 pounds of rice for them.
As they say, having food at home keeps the heart at ease.
For dinner, Jason and I made dumplings to celebrate.
Look, Emily! My fingers are no longer stiff. I can roll the dough and shape the dumplings.
That's great, Jason. Let's open a bottle of red wine to celebrate our windfall.
After enjoying our meat dumplings and wine, Jason leaned on my shoulder as we watched TV.
Jason reminds me so much of Michael, but he won't admit it.
Since being adopted, I've been well behaved. No need for collars or handcuffs.
As night fell, we wished each other good night and went to our rooms.
Perhaps it was the wine, but I slept deeply. In my dreams, I heard the growls of zombies, as if I had returned to the outbreak time.
I groggily turned over, thinking Jason wouldn't growl. But then I heard dull thuds from the yard.
My summer corn has a short maturity period. Could someone be stealing it?
I hurriedly turned on the light, but there was no power. I used my phone for light and grabbed a hoe for courage.
Who's there? You're not getting my corn.
When I reached the door, no matter how hard I pushed, it wouldn't budge. Jason let out a series of roars in the yard, facing two towering zombies that were snarling and clawing at him. In the darkness behind the zombies, 5 or 6 people were hiding.
I don't need the corn anymore, they can have it. Jason, get inside.
I could understand people fighting desperately for food these days. But Jason stood firm against the door, refusing to let me out.
Anna, you little wretch, I've been watching you every day. Who wants your measly corn? Hand over all your food and money, or you and your ugly monster will end up like Michael's parents, torn to pieces.
Lily?
Stepmom, are you sure she has hundreds of pounds of food and meat at home?
I've been watching that wretch with binoculars every day. Of course, I'm sure. Finish them off and say it was a zombie attack.
Under the urging of their handlers, the 2 zombies lunged at Jason. I quickly tried to call the police, but found there was no signal on my phone. That wretched Lily must have used a signal jammer.
Jason, come back inside. We have a zombie security system in place. At least we'll be safe for a while if you come in.
As long as I activated the bedroom's protection system, a steel shield would automatically drop down. Why was Jason, that foolish zombie, stubbornly guarding the door? Wouldn't it be safer for both of us to hide in the bedroom? Hearing my words, Jason slowly opened the door a crack, intending to squeeze in and lock it behind him.
That zombie is so agile. We can't let them escape alive.
The 2 zombies facing Jason were strong but clueless, clearly not understanding what Jason was trying to do. Suddenly, 3 men wielding kitchen knives and iron rods rushed out of the darkness, attacking Jason to prevent us from escaping. Jason dodged the knife but was hit by an iron rod, letting out a familiar cry of pain. In that instant, I remembered Michael's last scream as he charged into the zombie horde to get me to the safe zone. Jason, he was Michael.
Michael.
Summoning all my strength, I squeezed the door open a bit more and pulled Michael back inside. I could give up the food and supplies, I just wanted Michael to stay alive. Besides the 2 of us, Lily, who had been neighbors with Michael's family since childhood, also knew the villa well. Dragging the injured Michael towards the second-floor bedroom with the protective system, I saw Lily leading 2 middle-aged men to block the stairs.
Anna, if you weren't living in Michael's house, I wouldn't be so eager to see you dead. After all, this villa is where I've always dreamed of living. Those two old folks from Michael's family were bitten to death on the stairs by zombies I let in. Since Michael's family accepted you as their daughter-in-law, you might as well join them soon.
After extensive treatment, Michael's body was almost like a normal person's. His injured shoulder and arm were bleeding profusely. The two zombies, attracted by the scent of blood, had their eyes turn red and their growls grew louder, on the verge of going berserk.
Go ahead, tear them apart. They're your feast for tonight.
Michael suddenly stood in front of me, reaching out his large hands towards Lily.
Lily, you wretch! My mother pitied you and took care of you. You deceived her, my wife, and caused my parents' deaths. You deserve to pay for what you've done.
Lily, terrified, took a step back and exclaimed in disbelief.
Michael?
Michael lunged forward, gripping Lily's neck tightly. The two men behind Lily, seeing Michael suddenly lose control, were so frightened that they hid behind the two zombies they had brought with them.
Blood flowed more and more from Michael's body, and the two zombies completely lost their sanity.
Michael, no!
The zombies attacked Michael from both sides. I threw everything I could get my hands on at the zombies, dragging Michael towards the safe zone.
Hang on, Michael. Don't give up.
The zombies' roars grew louder, and their strength increased correspondingly. Michael blocked the staircase, preventing the zombies from getting close to me, while his own body was already riddled with wounds.
I can't let you sacrifice yourself for me again!
As I dragged him back, I finally felt the destructive collar Michael had used when he left. The explosive power inside could instantly destroy a zombie.
This has to work.
Seizing the opportunity, I suddenly let go of Michael's hand, jumped between the zombies and Michael with the collar, and placed it around the neck of the nearest zombie. I pressed the button and desperately pushed Michael towards the bedroom on the second floor. With a loud bang, the zombie with the collar exploded into pieces, and the staircase was also blown apart. The second floor was left with only Michael, covered in blood, and me, along with another zombie stunned by the explosion.
Michael, stay with me!
The increasingly strong scent of blood made the zombie particularly excited, and it staggered towards us. I dragged Michael's ankle with all my might, pulling him towards the safe zone, leaving a long trail of blood on the floor.
Come on, we have to make it.
The zombie chased us faster, and just as we were about to hide, it viciously aimed its sharp fingers at my heart. If it struck, I would be done for.
Anna!
Barely conscious, Michael let out a scream, using the last of his strength. He got up from the floor, shielding me with his entire body as we both crashed through the bedroom door.
Michael, you're incredible.
Taking advantage of the zombie's slow reaction, I desperately pulled Michael into the safe zone and pressed the protection button. Steel bars descended from above, trapping Michael and me inside the bedroom. The zombie outside pounded furiously on the bars but couldn't budge them.
Michael, please stay alive, no matter what it takes. You can drink my blood, becoming a zombie won't hurt anymore.
I slashed my wrist and pushed it towards Michael's mouth.
No. Anna.
Michael, too weak to resist, clenched his teeth. Outside, chaos erupted again, and from the car lights, it seemed at least 5 or 6 vehicles had arrived. I anxiously checked Michael's breathing. There was still a faint sign of life.
Please, someone help us.
I hoped the rescue would come quickly. I was willing to trade all my money and possessions to save Michael. But by the time they controlled the situation, set up the safety ladder, and opened the bars, Michael's faint breath and heartbeat were gone.
No, Michael. Not again.
I had lost Michael once again. It was too late. I picked up the knife that had slashed my wrist earlier and aimed it at my heart.
If I have to go, we will go together.
With resolve in my heart, I prepared to join Michael in eternity. Sarah had set up her account to automatically transfer funds every month to cover her mother's medical and living expenses, ensuring she had no worries.
Just as the dagger was about to pierce her body, Sarah's arm went numb, and she lost consciousness. She saw a sedative needle.
When she opened her eyes again, she was lying in her own bed. Next to her, wrapped up like a mummy, lay Michael.
Michael isn't gone?
You're the first person I've seen willing to sacrifice yourself for a reanimated human. I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first?
No matter how much Sarah shook him, Michael remained motionless like a corpse. His exposed skin had turned a lifeless gray and showed signs of decay.
The first bad news is that you've made the headlines. The good news is that as long as a reanimated human's neck isn't broken and its nerves aren't severed, it won't perish. The second bad news is that C521's body has already met the criteria for being a reanimated human, which means he's considered normal. The good news is that I injected him with some reanimated virus just in time. With the virus's powerful regenerative abilities, he can come back to life. Anyway, just do whatever you did before to turn him back into a normal person.
Sarah nodded eagerly. As long as Michael was alive, she didn't care if he could never be a regular person again or even if he looked a bit worse.
That Miss Lily thought that cutting the power would disable our recording and surveillance equipment. She underestimated us. But she's expecting, so after being taken in, she can't face severe punishment and will have to serve her sentence outside. Resources are limited these days. However, her stepson and his friend have been taken in. As accomplices, they'll be sentenced to over 10 years.
Those two who used reanimated humans to rob Sarah's adoptive family were sentenced to 20 years each.
Although Michael was Sarah's boyfriend, he was also a reanimated human under the state's jurisdiction. His heroic actions earned him commendations. He set an example for countless reanimated humans to reintegrate into society and their families.
Any rewards Michael received, whether money or material, went into Sarah's account. Always a money-minded person, Sarah now prayed every day, willing to give up everything, as long as Michael could come back to life. No matter what state he came back in.
I suggest you handcuff Michael, as the newly injected reanimated virus might make him forget you when he wakes up.
I refuse.
During Michael's comatose days, Sarah ate and lived together with him, taking care of him without leaving his side. She watched as the corn in the yard went from slightly ripe to fully mature and dried, but she had no interest in harvesting it. Even though Michael was on a nutrient drip every day, she still insisted on feeding him milk. He used to warm milk for her, never drinking it himself. She hoped to awaken more of his human memories.
When the first snow fell, Michael suddenly moved. Before Sarah could rush over, he stumbled into the bathroom.
Lactose intolerant, trying to kill me.
Sarah looked at Michael in shock, and just then the phone rang. It was that unreliable leader.
Surprised? The reanimated virus we injected him with was purified. So, as a favor in return, when can your herbal medicine factory resume production?
Why didn't you admit it earlier?
I felt inferior, didn't know if I could recover, didn't want to drag you down with me. When have you ever seen me drink milk?
After this complaint, Michael went back into the bathroom. The unorthodox leader in the video shook his head and lamented.
This is a total disaster.
In the end, the leader handed me a small fine, accusing me of mistreating the adopted reanimated individuals. Although Michael still bore many signs of his former state, his previous work skills were fully restored.
Under my leadership, the factory quickly repaired the production line.
The entire factory was staffed by reanimated individuals, significantly reducing the burden on the country, society, and families. Traditional medicine played a significant role in the later recovery of these individuals. The original 8-hour work shift couldn't meet market demands, so they switched to 3 shifts, with people resting while machines kept running.
Working at the Anna Michael Group is less comfortable than being a mindless reanimated.
Under Michael's leadership, the factory made a fortune. We quickly saved enough money to afford the highest-end cosmetic surgery.
I need the final surgery to look indistinguishable from a normal person. I feel insecure otherwise.
Honestly, I felt a bit reluctant to spend such a large sum. Wouldn't a standard cosmetic package suffice?
I insist on restoring my original appearance before agreeing to marry you.
I didn't care about his looks. Seeing how hard he worked to support the family and quickly catapulted me onto the rich list, I agreed. I thought that with Michael back, I could forgive everything. I didn't want to know about Lily, but her family's news was too sensational. With no new entertainment shows, it instantly became the headline. Lily was ultimately given a harmful substance in her food by her much older husband, leading to a severe incident and her passing. After an investigation, it was revealed that the child was her stepson's. The old man regretted it deeply, thinking the child was from an affair. Lily's death and the loss of his grandchild drove him to despair, and he too passed away. The person in prison, having lost his entire family, went mad. I didn't dare mention Lily in front of Michael, but it was clear he had also heard the news today. While peeling an apple for me, Michael spoke.
She was my neighbor's illegitimate daughter, brought home by Uncle Lee. No one in the Lee family respected her, and she often went hungry. My mother was kind-hearted and often gave her food. She said she would marry me when she grew up. It was just a joke, we were never engaged. She went to my mother and spread rumors about you, saying you seduced wealthy men and had many terminations. That's why my mother said those things to you back then. Fortunately, after all the twists and turns, we're together again, forever together.
I held Michael's hand in mine and said,
Forever together.